Okay, stratified squamous epithelium. Recall that as the cells are traveling through the epidermis from the basal layer to the apical surface, they are collecting the keratin, which is allowing it to have that protective surface. It's a little tougher of a surface, and it allows the skin to maintain its hydration on the inside and also prevents the water from coming in from the outside. So at the same time, as the cells reach the top, they become dehydrated due to the decrease in the blood supply, which is because of the physical distance between the blood supply and where they are located now at the apical surface. So, or most superficial surface. So that's what's happening. As they die, they wear off and slough off. There are two types of epidermis. There's the dry and the wet. So the dry is this keratinized kind, but the wet is non-keratinized, which is found in the mouth, the esophagus, and the vagina. If you can picture the hollowness of that area, and then how it has the mucous membranes allow it to have the wetness. So again, we've been looking at the skin and talking about the toughness of it and the protective protein. We'll see in a few minutes or a few lectures how this keratin is also considered, although it's protective and softer, it's and hard, it's still softer than the hardest keratin, which we'll find in the nails and in the hair. So let's look at that. So we're going to get into the the hair, nails, and sweat glands. So hair, okay, so it is dead keratinized epithelium. It's going to be a hard keratin, so it's a different consistency than what we feel with this superficial stratified squamous cells as they slough off. Even the hair will detect if something is on your skin, so it helps to grab that input in. With the cells that are receiving information, there's movement within the hair, and that allows us to say, oh, there's something on me, right? I'm going to brush it away. It can also prevent physical trauma just from the coarseness of hair. You know, if you were to crash, land on your head and you're bald, you're going to skin away more of the integument or the skin part of your head than if you have a head of hair crash land on your head. You're going to have a bit more protection with that hair. It does prevent heat loss and it does protect us from the sun. Okay, so hairs are also called pili, and they come out of these follicles or tubes. And again, this is a hard keratin versus a soft keratin, and we will now look at this in a picture. After talking about the hair pigment is determined by the genetics, so it's determined by the melanocytes in the hair in the outer cortex. So you can have these yellow, rust, brown, or black, and just like when we paint with magenta, blue, and magenta, help me out guys, yellow and blue are your primary colors, that you mix all those paints to get all the different types of colors that you want to use in your artwork. The same thing happens here, that just with these 4 basic ones, we get all the different types of hair color. Red hair has a special pigment called pheomelanin, and that is the one that determines red hair color. Gray-white is interesting. So this is actually when the shaft, the middle of the shaft has air bubbles in it, and you get this grayness and whiteness. So that would be happening right here. As the cells die off in this area, or they're replaced by air, you get that kind of white hair, gray hair. So real quick, we'll just look at this image here of the hair shaft coming down right into the bulb, or which is inside the follicle, and the follicle is this space here. And then we have a sebaceous gland or an oil gland here, and there's that muscle that's going to pull our hair to make it stand on. So in specific words, right, in regions, the shaft does extend above the scalp, and it's going to determine if you have round hair, if you have straight hair or wavy hair. So the round shaft will make a straight hair, and a cylindrical shaft will make a curly hair, and the extent of that can vary from person to person. And if you can imagine that you were playing with Play-Doh and you squeeze Play-Doh out through a round plastic cylinder, that it would come out smooth like a tube, but if it had kinks in it, then you would get this kind of wavy hair. So that's how we get that. The root is the area within the scalp, and that's where the protein cells are joining in to create that hard, durable hair. Bellis is the term used for the very white peach fuzz, is kind of called, or it's like very thin looking. You see it in some adult females and also in the hair of children. Terminal hair is what we see after puberty, that they start to show up in the axilla, which is in your armpit area, right? Pubic regions, and you might find it during puberty, post-pubescent folks having it in the face, neck, or neck region as well. So as always, nutrition and hormones are going to affect growth, and specifically, they'll also affect hair growth. So proper nutrition is going to affect that, and proper release of hormones, which are chemical messengers, are also going to determine how hair grows. What happens with this? Well, we slough off all this hair. I love this, 90 scalp hairs daily, which is just to say that, hey, if you feel like you're shedding a lot of hair, you probably are. And the longer your hair is, the more it seems like it is. So if you have a very short cut, like a buzz cut or something of this nature, those little pieces of hair are going to just not be as prevalent or noticeable in the area around you. But if you have hair that's down to your lumbar spine and you're losing 90 of those, they're going to have 90 times, 36 inches, and now it looks like a lot of hair. So sometimes if you feel like you're losing a lot of hair, it might be because your hair is long. Alopecia is a natural aging process where, well, alopecia is the term for the loss of hair or hair thinning, and that happens naturally with age. Again, it will you have the genetic component that will determine how much of this happens. Baldness is another one that's genetically determined very specifically. So it says it's a sex-linked one. So if your mother's brother has baldness, then you might have baldness based on your mother's brother, right? You don't have to look at your mom, you look at mom's brother, and that would determine it. The hormone here is dihydrotestosterone, and that is the hormone that is responsible for this kind of male pattern baldness. So when you're taking like on a shampoo or something to prevent this, you're working with hormones, and it can get pretty toxic pretty fast, but you can combat this in order to try to retain hair. Okay, so telogen effluvium, right, is this phenomena when, whoa, all of a sudden, you lose a lot of hair, and that can be due to hormones, surgery, an emotional trauma, even your nutrition can affect that. Drugs can also have an effect on your hair, and you probably are most exposed to the chemotherapy drugs that then lead to hair loss. However, there's also these things, hypothyroidism, so there we're talking about a gland, right, and a lack of the hormone that's produced by the thyroid gland. And then protein deficiency, we go back to nutrients, that we do need a homeostasis in this to have to maintain our hair health.